It looks like create a new broadcast. Okay. Girl. So it's showing on YouTube. Okay. There we go. All right. We are live. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock. Come one, come all. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see here. Welcome to Be Healed Webisodes. We're so happy to have you. It is an amazing time. I have an amazing guest with us on tonight. The one, the only, the incomparable Miss Ehmandah Ramsey. Not only is she a singer, a songwriter, a producer, not only is she a mother, not only is she a pastor, not only is she a phenom of a musician, she is my friend and sister. And all the titles that she wears, all the many hats that she wears, I'm just so grateful to know her as a friend and sister. I believe God put us in relationship for such a time as this. So I'm going to be really excited for you all to hear. As you can see, there's a little announcements rolling across the screen, and we'll touch on those a little bit later regarding the Be Healed 2020 event. But I want to jump right in and introduce you to some and present to others. You know, that's what we say in church.
Yeah.
Miss Ehmandah Ramsey. Let's give her a hand. Yay! Hey, sugar. She is also, let me just say this. She also is the founder of She Stories. If you have not visited an event for She Stories, I implore you to do so. It is worth it, where you have a group of women and just coming together, sharing their stories and giving life and sharing their voice. So such a visionary. And we're going to just kind of chat with her tonight. Looking forward to this. She is my first guest on the Be Healed Webisode show, the Be Healed show. And I'm your host, Camille Arperi. You guys know me. Let's talk to Miss Ehmandah. I just wanted to say thank you for agreeing to be my first guest.
Awesome. Yes, of course.
You know, I'm so excited for this broadcast and all that are able to join us on this evening. Can you just tell them a little? I've given you, some of your resume, but just tell them a little bit about yourself.
I think you did a great job by doing that. Yes, I am a singer, songwriter, musician, and producer. Also, I'm the founder of She Stories, which is a storytelling night for women where real women share real stories. We promote sisterhood, uh, using your voice, being free, and then also mental health services as well. And I'm also the host of Hey Sugar podcast as well. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's a little bit of who I am. And I'm an entrepreneur. I've had a couple businesses and just recently transitioned to doing something a little bit more digital than a brick and mortar. So I'm excited about that. So I have a lot going on. I love what I do what I love.
Absolutely. And it shows. I mean, you're talking about resilient and amazing woman. So, here with Be Healed show, we like to just share how God has healed, or even in our process of healing, just sharing with the different individuals where we are that might be tuning in. And so, with that being said, last week was our first kickoff, and we talked about not looking back, right? But today, Miss Ehmandah Ramsey is going to talk about no more trauma. Okay. I know Mary J. Penn, no more drama, but we're saying no more trauma today. And so Miss Ehmandah is going to share her story, how God healed her from those, we've all had those toxic relationships. We've all had those experiences with trauma, relational trauma, not just physical, not just emotional, not just financial or psychological. Like there's so many layers that trauma can happen, but how God just healed her, and she's going to share her story. So let's talk. My first question to you, just how did he heal you from that? Like how? Well, tell me what that was. Let's start there. What was the that, and then how did you get healed? Tell us that process.
Um, it's been such a while since I've told this complete story, but um, I got married very young. My dad was a pastor. Uh, my mom pastored together, and I got married young, probably about 23, and had a baby all around the same time. You do the math.
It
uh,
happens.
I fell in love with this great guy. He loved the Lord. I love the Lord. We were both musicians and everything. And me coming from a two-parent family home, my dad was a great example of a man and how a man should treat a woman and
Mhm.
how a family should be. So naturally, I was looking for that in relationships. So I met this man and started off great, but there was a little bit of a detour in the relationship where he had his own trauma that he had in his life experiences, where he experienced abuse,
Mhm.
and in turn, I was in an abusive relationship with him.
Wow.
So it was a domestic violence relationship, and in that time period. I didn't realize I was in it because my story looked a little bit different than everyone else's.
Right, right.
But it was a domestic violent relationship. And I won't go into details because we're talking about being healed. But I experienced that with him. And I decided to leave, thank God.
Mhm.
And my parents and my siblings knew nothing about what was happening.
Wow.
Every single Sunday, I was over the choir at 23 years old, and every single Sunday I would come to church, play the piano, even when I was pregnant, even when I had a baby next to me in a carrier on the stage. They never knew I was going through a domestic violent relationship at all
Mhm.
because I hid it so well, you know.
Mhm.
And my reason why I never told them is because I had a lot of shame. Here I am, pastor's daughter, come from a great family. How could I let this happen to me? How can I get in this type of relationship? I had a lot of fear because I didn't want my dad and my brothers to, go out there and try to get revenge or hurt
Right.
them because this is, my soon to be ex, the father of my daughter. I didn't want any of
Mhm.
that. So I hid that. I wore a mask every single Sunday. And I didn't tell my family about it until after I got a divorce. So I went through this relationship with him, and it was violent. And so you can only imagine the hurt and the pain and the trauma that I experienced that I packed away.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
And being a believer, I'm like, I'm just going to pray about it and get on my merry way. So I packed it, pack, and never really dealt with it. So after we got a divorce, I said, okay, I was a good girl, so let me be bad for a little bit. Let me go out there
Mhm.
and do some little things and be bad. In my little short period of being a bad girl. And so I did that for a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, God, I want you to heal me. I'm going to take this time, which I so recommend for so many people, men and women. It's like when you break up from
Mhm.
someone, you need to take that time, a period of healing, right?
Yes.
Where you don't
Yes.
date anybody else, and you're not trying to fill that void. You need to take that time to heal. I thought that was my time period. So I did that. I didn't date anybody for a very long time. Had
Mhm.
a daughter, and I wanted to be a single mom and do my thing. So being a single mom, I was so laser focused on being a mom for those single moms out there. Time we feel we have to play that role, right? We have to be mom, we have to be dad, and
Right.
because we're so focused on being, that mom and that dad, sometimes, and this is with me, and I
Mhm.
don't know about anybody else, but you build these walls around your heart, your exterior
Absolutely.
gets a little bit more rough, you
Yep.
know. You your mannerisms, not necessarily, but your energy is a little bit more masculine.
Yes.
You're trying to guard your heart, right?
Right.
And so I've always been a lovey-dovey type of person, and I lost all that with him. I lost all of that with him in that relationship. I was like, I'm not going to be lovey. I'm not going to be doing any of that stuff. So fast forward in the story. So I got all these walls that I've built. I built these walls, right? Got the best bricks, right? The best cement.
Right.
We was looking fly.
Got the barbed wire on the top just in case.
Yeah, girl. I wasn't letting nobody get in. Right. Absolutely. Even in that period when I was being a bad girl, I was acting like a dude. Like, how dudes be like, I don't even like you like that, but we can kick it, Right. That's me. That's not even me. But that's how I was operating because I was guarding my heart and I didn't want to get hurt. So let's fast forward to 2015. All this time period, I had these walls up, met a couple guys here and there, but never really had, a real relationship with anybody. So in 2015, in September, my mom died suddenly, out of nowhere. There's so many things happening in my life at this time in 2015. Mom, I was in the process of starting a business with a friend. My mom dies. I start the business, right?
Wow.
Which was a major decision that I do not recommend to anyone.
Right. I mean, that's life altering.
Like that, but I did. And it kind of helped me get my mind off of me dealing with what was going on with my family, losing my mom, which I love her so much. So that was going on. So you got a business I'm trying to build in Upland and with my friend and then my mom dies and then I'm just like, just a lot, just a ball of emotions, not really dealing with what's ahead of me, or what's in the past too.
Right.
So December, I wrote down my notes too because I was like, I gotta remember this stuff. So in
take your time, preacher. Take your time.
In November of 2015, so my mom died, in 9/15, and then my birthday was in 10/15, and then in November 15, I watched this show called Black Love on FYI Network.
Okay.
So basically, it was about 5 African American women, career-minded entrepreneurs that were on this unique journey of trying to figure out what was preventing them from falling in love.
Okay.
And having a fulfilling relationship with a man. And an amazing psychotherapist, Jack E. Daniels, was on the show, and he was one of the counselors on the show. So I found the show, and I remember talking to my sister about this. I started watching it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that journey with them. I know it's a reality show, but some of the activities and everything that he gives, I'm going to do that too, because I think there's some areas that I need to heal that I haven't looked at. So I started on the journey, watching the show and doing some of the things. And then in that time period, I had a friend that came back to church in December.
Okay.
And he came to church and he was like, I hadn't seen him probably in a year. And he was like, hey, I'm back, I really need fellowship. I need family, so I want to hang out and, maybe we can kick it sometimes. So I was like, cool, no problem, whatever. And so, so I felt very drawn to him. The Lord was really speaking to me about him.
Okay.
The Lord was saying to me, okay, here's this person that really needs family. I'm all about family. My family's all about family. He needs family. You need to connect with him. Nothing romantic. Just connect with him because he really needs family.
Yes.
So I did. And, he's a very handsome guy. And I told him, I said, look, I know you cute. All girls want you. But it's not like that. I see your heart and I feel that the Holy Spirit was really tugging on my heart to really reach out to you, to walk this journey with you while you're trying to get closer to God and get closer to family. Boy, did I not even know what God was doing in that relationship, Camille.
All right.
I did not know. I thought, oh God, you're just using me to help somebody. That's just what I'm called to do, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Just to be a person that's going to just come and just help this person along the way. But he had a different plan. He's like, yeah, I want you to do that, but I got something for you too, because it's time for you to get healed.
Yeah, twofold blessing. Love it.
Yes. And I was so unaware, and it freaking hit me in the face like that with him. So we started hanging out. And I had a couple shows, and I really hope he watches this. I had a couple shows and I really wanted him to be there. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to be there. Show came, to perform, and he didn't show up. I was so off at him.
Yes.
And then one night I was at Bible study, and God really put it on my heart to pray for him. And I'm there, and I'm crying, and I'm weeping like I'm praying for my husband, right? And we didn't even got that kind of relationship, but I was really praying.
Right.
The Lord started to speak to me, and he started showing me things through different experiences. He's like, you know why you're mad at him because he didn't come to that show? It ain't got nothing to do with him.
Nothing to do with him.
Everything to do with your ex-husband, how he didn't show up for the stuff that you needed him to show up in.
Right.
In your life. So I thought that I was healed from my relationship with my ex, but I found there was a lot of residue left over.
Yes.
With my relation with him. So
I'm sorry. You when you said residue, I was like, yes. I think we need to speak about that. The residual. It's not magic wiped away.
And we miss a lot of areas.
Yes, we do.
You know what I mean? I mean, just think about it. When somebody's coming over your house and you really haven't cleaned like you should, you're just tidying up and you're throwing stuff in the closet and doing all this. We've all done that before.
Right.
You look at my closet, there's some stuff that just needs to be fixed. But that's what we do with our life.
Yes.
Right? When people walk in, we start just throwing stuff in closets and just hiding things and not really showing who we really are.
To make it presentable.
Of course, because I want you to love me.
Right.
Right? So I'm going to just, do all of this.
And don't mind the luggage in the kitchen.
Yeah. We like the song by Erykah Badu, Bag Lady.
Yes.
So, but you can't hurry up because you got too much stuff.
Right. Come on.
And that's how we are. It's like we miss out on a lot because we are carrying so much baggage that we cannot get to what God has for us because we got too much stuff.
Yes. So true.
And so I was looking back at my Instagram, from our conversation that we had earlier. And so I'm a big journal person.
Okay.
And because, I have carpal tunnel, I have a journal on my phone.
Understood.
So this is the thing that I type in the middle of the night, and I'll be talking to God like I talk to you. God, what the heck is going on? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What's wrong with me? We have those thoughts in our minds, right? As women, what's wrong with me? So I was looking back at this conversation, and I want to read this to you. So I said, when I was about to tell my story, because I'm a big storyteller, and I'm all over the place with the story, but I'm going to bring it back.
All right.
But with all of that, with my relationship with my friend, God used him to take me through this healing journey and really expose the residue that I had underneath rugs, corners, closets, everywhere. He used this person to help expose that and help me to get back to the woman that God wanted me to be. Because I had this exterior that was rough. And that's not who I was.
Right.
But in my relationship and friendship with this man, God began to divinely dismantle those walls in my life. So I, after all of that, I sat down with him one day. I invited him over for dinner, and I said, hey, this was like an 8-month journey that we took with each other. And it was about 8 months. And then after that, we kind of like parted ways. But we're still friends today. And I said, you know, I want to cook dinner for you. Everybody knows me. You know, I don't really be cooking like that. But
I was like, you heated something up.
I want to cook
She
dinner
ain't
for
cooking.
you. And, I need to share some things. I am in the process of sharing my story, and I want to share it with you before I share it with the world, because I want you to know how much you've changed and impacted my life.
Yeah.
And this was like probably a month before I started Shoe Stories. So I'm going to read a little bit. I said, I'm going to tell him how much he changed my life. And every time I start to think about it, I start to tear up. I'm so amazed still to this day how God used our relationship to dismantle these walls and remove the residue from my previous relationship. It's freaking crazy. I need to tell this story because I soon will start talking to other people and sharing about it. I just want him to personally know that he changed my life and how he blessed me, how God used him to be the AED to my heart.
Say that one more time. Use him to be the what?
The AED.
Come on, that defib. Come on, charge. Come on now. That's what I'm saying. Bring that life back. Yeah. She's not asystole. She can live again.
And he was that person. God used him to be the AED in my heart. And, you know, I just was just weeping when I was telling him this and how much I really love him and thank him for just being there. And he didn't even know what was going on during that 8-month period that God was using him. And so that's what God has to do sometimes, right? Sometimes it's like one time for some people. Sometimes it might be a few times that he has to really wake you up. But in that process, Camille, I began to transform not just inwardly, but outwardly.
Okay.
You know, people's like, dang, Amanda, the glow up is real. Yeah, it's real because I lost all of that. I forgot that my love language was touch and that I like to hug. And he used to hug me all the time. And at first I was like, but because I lost all of that, because I didn't want that. But I learned like, oh, that's me. I love that. I love to hug. I do cry. You know, I do like to share this. I do like to do these things. I am feminine. I don't have to be hard. Yes. All of that, God just was like, just bringing that down, using him. And it was just such an amazing time. And so I began to post on Instagram after I shared my story with him. And I'll read a couple things I wrote. I said, I shared a journey with him. See, I let him kick in my do not disturb sign. I wasn't ready. No, I wasn't ready for the experience of a lifetime that would ultimately tear down walls that I so beautifully built. I let him in and she walked out.
I let him in and she walked out. That she. And even though Be Healed, and I know we have ladies and gentlemen watching us today, because this is applicable for all. It's not just for the ladies. Oh, for ladies to be restored, for ladies it's everybody.
Yes.
I believe if we all do our part, we all will be better for one another. But when you talked about she walking out, how long did she have control over you? Would you say, do you address her as like the hurt you, the past you, the trauma you? What did you ever name her?
That was the healed me that walked out.
Oh, the heal. Okay. See, I was thinking you were talking about the other person because I'm like, okay, I got the direction now. All right.
The healed me walked out.
You came out a new woman. Okay.
I rediscovered who Amanda was.
Yes. Yes.
I rediscovered.
And now that you rediscovered Amanda and you have embraced her in complete totality, where does Amanda feel about love, and how does she look? Does she want to be remarried?
Of course.
Is she satisfied with just dating and having dating?
Well, Amanda wants to be married. And Amanda is very actively still, like Esther, preparing herself
Hmm.
God has for me.
Okay.
And healing is a process, it's a journey.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time. You got to go through the process of unpacking your soul and filling it with the goodness of God and what He has for you and your purpose. But you have to take part in that.
Correct. Yes.
It's not going to just be like, oh, you healed like that, or you're going to meet this great guy and you're going to be healed. No. I talk so much about soul wounds. Like, if there's something that happened to you in the past that you have not healed from,
Yes.
that person doing one little thing, like that guy not showing up, was a trigger for me.
Yes.
It made me have this attitude with him. He's like, what is going on with you?
Right.
Oh, it got nothing to do with the fruit. It got something to do with the root.
It's not the fruit, it's the root. Okay, look at all these gems you're dropping.
But yeah, so Amanda walked out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I love her. Where has she been?
And do you ever plan to let her be subdued again? Let me say this, no one plans for that. Let me rephrase.
Okay.
What precautions, without it being walls, without it being a fortified fortress where no one can get through, how do you preserve the integrity of the structure of the beauty of you, inward and outward of you, to prevent the potential or the trauma that could arise?
We're all going to deal with life's challenges, right? And especially if you're dating. Sometimes it's not going to work out, right?
Right.
You might get into something that just wasn't a good fit, or just wasn't the right time. And I know personally, I've been able to notice how I respond to rejection.
Okay.
It's important to know because you can catch it. My thing is this: the moment, and this was in the beginning after I had went through the healing process, the moment rejection started coming, or things didn't work out with a guy, and I really liked him, and liked it. You like that? I really liked him.
Right. Liked it.
Didn't work out. I noticed I would start picking up those bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. And let's build that wall again.
Right.
You done open yourself up and it didn't work out. And what's wrong with me, God? How come I can't find nobody? You start to build those walls. But if you are aware that happens, then you need to counteract that with the word of God, remind you who you are and whose you are.
Yes.
And from there, and then of course affirmations and positive self-talk, then you're like, okay, let me put the bricks and the cement away.
Right. Unnecessary.
It's not necessary. Because everybody ain't for you.
Right.
And God has a mate for your soul. I don't believe in soulmates. I believe a mate for your soul.
Okay.
So whatever you are and your experience and all that, God is going to match us up with somebody that can help us in our journey to deal with those things that will come up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is good. This is really good. So I totally forgot that we had people were sitting here listening. I want to do a couple of things. I just want to highlight some of the things that I'm hearing from you.
Okay.
One is, even when the story looks different from what we've seen, when it related to your previous relationship, and how you kept it hidden, and you had justifiable reasons why you kept it hidden. How can one hear this today and realize, hey, this sounds familiar, and make the decision like you did of saying, I can't do this anymore? What can you share with that man or woman that is in that relationship, that's hearing you speak and share your story of how God healed you from that? What can you inspire them to make those steps? What can be a a motivating factor for them that you can share with them?
I definitely believe that you should evaluate your relationship. You
Mm.
know, definitely need to evaluate your relationship. And if it's a toxic relationship, then that's not the relationship for you.
How do you evaluate toxicity? Because you can't do a pH test like we would if
Mhm.
we were testing the acidity of something. So what can they how can they test it? What or is it something internal?
It could be emotional,
Okay.
it can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be someone that tears down your worth,
Mm.
your value. Um, and, it's so important for us as men and women to know our value and our worth and
Mhm.
not allow anyone to treat us like a doormat and walk all over us.
Right.
But that's not God's intention for us to be in that type of relationship, right? He
Right.
wants us to be in a healthy relationship, where we are loved and how a man should love a woman like Christ loved the church, you know?
Mhm. Yes.
So it's important for us to, and I mean, let's keep it 100. We all know, usually, when we see some little flags popping up, we're like,
Mhm.
that didn't feel good, but
Right.
I might let that slide.
Right.
Happens again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You start to feel that, and like someone else says, write down the good and the bad. Definitely, you
Mhm.
need to write down the list of pros and cons of the relationship, or what's good or what's bad about that person.
Mhm.
But it's just I believe that if you take the time to heal, and it's
Mhm.
not every situation, but I'm speaking for me. If I take the time to heal me, then my eyes are a little bit more clear. My vision is a little bit more clear on what I need
Yeah.
as a woman. I know me to be a former rescuer.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
would love to pick a guy that I could rescue. Oh, what
Right.
you know. But I
Mhm.
found that out about me, and I was like, we got to fix that. No,
Right.
that's not your job.
Right.
I'm not
You're
your
not a rotor-rooter of hearts or
Jesus.
this isn't Build-A-Bear. Life isn't like that. So absolutely. I want to have you on again because I know that there's a plethora of stories that you can share. But I want to make sure that all can check you out. How can they learn more about Miss Ehmandah Ramsey, the amazing?
Sure. Let me say one thing before we end. My ex, uh, we forgave each other because even though we were in an abusive relationship, there were some things that I did that I need to ask for forgiveness too. But we
Mhm.
ended on a good note
Okay.
with each other, and he asked for forgiveness, and so I was able to walk away knowing that I was right in the eyesight of God, and that was important for me.
Absolutely.
To say that we did end on a good note, and he is living with the Lord now. But we walked away and it's
Mhm.
on a good note. But you can find me at AmandahRamsey.com. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and then I'm sure Camille will send out my handle and everything.
Absolutely. I'm going to actually I'm going to load some of those in here
Yeah.
as our banners. I am honored just to have you. And, we can literally talk for hours. Well, you know that I normally sit on your couch and do that. Just whether you like it or not, I'm talking to you for hours.
Ah!
But I appreciate you sharing your story. And one of the things that I heard in this when you were sharing about the friend that came in to your life for such a time as that you needed for your healing, for your deliverance. I love how the Lord is concerned about everyone
Yeah, yeah.
and that he doesn't do anything by happenstance. It's not by osmosis or just a random fluke of nature. He's strategic. as your sister, you and her co-pastor, but as she always shares her theme scripture of life, Jeremiah 29:11, you know, and understanding that God has plans for us, but even knowing that he planned for that man to come back in your life at that time. He planned for him to share in that, all those great things, just so you can be at this radiance that you are. And I'm happy to see that. And I hope everyone that got a chance to tune in to this, they will have that moment, have that conversation with themselves, pray, talk with the Lord, and see what can I do to be better. You know, and I have a heart for marriage, never been married, but have looked at marriage my whole life, seen it done well and done not so well in a lot of areas. And I would hope that married women and men that are going through the various situations can get to a place where they can get that healing and that residue. Not they don't have to separate in their marriage. They don't have to divorce in their marriage, but allow God to heal and remove that residue so they can, so their mate can walk in and they can come out new. I love that.
And individual healing is important, because even if you're married, you got to heal first.
Right.
Everybody got to do their own healing.
And then it's a journey. Yes, I definitely appreciate it. So again, thank you, Miss Amanda. Thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 2 of Be Healed, as webisode 2 rather, No More Trauma. I thank you. I appreciate every heart, every comment. If you have any questions, if you have any topics that you would like to see on Be Healed, please email behealedconference.com. I mean, behealedconference@gmail.com, or email me directly at CamilleRPerry@gmail.com. We're here to help and serve. And there's going to be some more exciting guests. Tune in next week for episode 3. You don't want to miss it. It'll be a treat. God bless you until we see you again. Please make sure to check us out on our website, as well as for the replays here on Facebook and on YouTube. And ladies, we want to see you at the conference, at the Be Healed 2020 conference. Why? Not only is Miss Amanda going to be a part of it, but she's going to be singing. She's going to be playing. And you think her words are profound? You have to hear the melodic voice that God has blessed her with. So it's only $25 to register. There's still time. If you register before July 12th, you're able to get your shirt that will be sent to you, and some other goodie bags for you. So again, that's at behealedconference.com. Go ahead and register. We love you. God bless you. And like Kev on stage says, we'll see you at the conference. Thank you, Amanda.